Television is great for telling serialized stories over a long period of time, but not every TV series is meant to last. Whether it's because of stiff competition, upheaval at the network, or simply being ahead of their time, some shows are canceled before they have a chance to reach their full potential. None of these series made it past a single season, and we still aren't over it. Clone High. The animated MTV show Clone High followed clones of Abraham Lincoln, JFK, Cleopatra, and Gandhi, among other famous historical figures, each reinvented as a different teenage archetype as they try to manage hormones, homework, and a secret government program with evil designs on their school.
Jeez, Abe, you grew like a foot.
You grew like a pair of breasts.
The show's irreverent humor and use of real-life historical figures were bound to lead to controversy, and its depiction of Gandhi as a horny party animal led hundreds of Indian citizens to go on a hunger strike in protest. After the controversy, the show was ultimately canceled with no hope of renewal. Still, while it ended too soon for many fans, the show's single season remains a fascinating time capsule of early 2000s MTV animation. My So-Called Life. Following Claire Danes' character Angela Chase and her friends as they dealt with real, timely issues like homophobia and abuse, My So-Called Life's depiction of teenage life was genuinely groundbreaking. From great dialogue to well-written characters, the show established a unique depiction of a high schooler's search for identity. Danes' performance was sometimes uncomfortably familiar, and the show's unflinching look at the less discussed aspects of adolescence was a critical hit.
He's bisexual?
How can he be bi anything? He's a child. He's obviously very confused.
No, he's not confused.
He wears eyeliner.
Unfortunately, while the show was beloved by its fans, Danes was ready to move on to new things by the end of the first season, and low ratings meant the show was unlikely to get a second season with or without her. Still, its influence reverberated through nearly every high school set series that followed. Firefly. When discussing shows canceled before their time, it's basically impossible to exclude Firefly. The show's focus on science fiction adventures fused with Western sensibilities, combined with creator Joss Whedon's trademark dialogue, made a huge impact on fans. Those fans proved it with their now legendary campaigns to save the series, which eventually resulted in a big-budget movie continuation, Serenity. Like any sci-fi series, elements of Firefly arguably haven't aged well, but it still remains a joy to see Zoe and Wash as one of the only functional couples on the show. They're as traumatized and cynical as the rest of the crew, but nonetheless refuse to let their past define them. Just one reason Firefly's one-season voyage remains the focus of a devoted fanbase. The Tick. The original live-action The Tick followed the addle-brained hero and his frustrated former accountant-turned-super sidekick Arthur, using a mix of Seinfeld-style humor and off-brand Justice League-type antics to introduce a host of ridiculous characters.
My head feels like it's gonna have a baby.
The madcap comedic stylings and Patrick Warburton's booming voice have become almost inseparable from the DNA of modern comedies, but The Tick only lasted one season. While the show's run might have been short, it was definitely sweet, with a whole host of ridiculous allies and enemies menacing our favorite bulging blue bug.
Evil never sleeps, mister.
Oh, leave me alone. I'm 112 years old. I'm done.
Don't be an Adolf Hitler.
Although it's great that Amazon resurrected the property without Warburton and the rest of the original cast on board, the original Tick's cancellation still feels like a missed opportunity. The Adventures of Brisco County Jr. Starring the one and only Bruce Campbell as Brisco, The Adventures of Brisco County Jr. mixed classic Western tropes like train robberies and corrupt juries with anachronistic technology like rockets and projectors. Much of the charm came from Campbell's distinctive comic timing and everyman persona, but the scripts were surprisingly clever. The show was set in 1893, a full 100 years before its airing in 1993, which allowed for all sorts of Futurama-esque winking at popular culture filtered through the lens of classic genre trappings. Anyone who loves Campbell's work, or can simply appreciate a quirky good time, needs to see this cult classic. The Get Down. Baz Luhrmann's The Get Down was always going to be subject to scrutiny. Luhrmann is a love-him-or-hate-him director, and when you add in the massive price tag and the difficult-to-define genre, the show is destined to leave some viewers scratching their heads. The Get Down tried to tell an unusual kind of magical realist story about the search for mythical records, and passionate musical performances that could convert foe to friend. Even when the show approached abstraction, its core trio of kids in the slums of New York brought an emotional reality that bedrocked the series.
The way I see it, all of us here on this planet, and we're on a journey, and it is a mystery.
Sadly, the show just never found enough of an audience, but the entire run is still part of the Netflix lineup, just waiting for the right viewers to get hooked on its musical myth. Freaks and Geeks. Many shows have taken place in high school, but none with the level of uncomfortable, frank honesty that fueled Freaks and Geeks. Brought to viewers by a flock of future famous faces and writers including Judd Apatow, Seth Rogen, Linda Cardellini, Jason Segel, and James Franco, it offered a unique depiction of adolescence.
Yeah, well, what are you gonna do?
I don't know. What are you gonna do?
It's stunning to look back on the show and see the on-screen evolution of some of our favorite talent, but even more impressive is the timelessness of the stories and the way they're delivered. Although it was set in the early 80s, Freaks and Geeks remains eternal because of its willingness to embrace the awkward, acne-ridden side of being a teenage misfit.